The images of viruses that we see in the media, in newspapers and on television, have been artificially coloured. Viruses are transparent. So somewhere along the way, scientists or journalists or perhaps the science photo library, they doctor them, they colour them artificially, just to produce an emotional response perhaps in the viewer. So you can end up with the public believing that viruses are actually these brightly coloured things. So my sculptures, well, they're three-dimensional and they're transparent.
Well, we'll have a look at them now, but I mean, just before we look specifically at them, I should say that the general impression is just very lovely. Some of them, there's 4 there on a light box, which are about the size of, well, they're a bit smaller than footballs, but these cylindrical or globe-shaped things, and they look a bit like, they have that crystalline beauty of snowflakes, for instance. And we're dealing here with things that are killing people in the hundreds of thousands. I mean, isn't there some kind of rather dreadful irony in making such beautiful things out of such lethal things?
Yeah, well, that's part of the problem. By taking away all the colour and making glass sculptures, I've made these incredibly beautiful objects. And so I've replaced one problem with another, So now there's this kind of curious tension between the beauty of the object and then what it represents.
This one on the left, right, more like a rugby ball than a football. It's very complicated shape with a kind of intricate spiral in the centre and then little growths coming out of the end. What is it?
This is a virus of swine flu. So on the inside you've got the genetic material, and then on the outside of that form are proteins. It is incredibly intricate. I designed it. It's a kind of combination of looking through an electron microscope at what you actually see, and then what you also know through looking at diagrams. So the artworks are a combination of electron microscope imagery and diagrams.
Over there, if we could just go across the gallery. Over there in solitary splendour on a black-topped plinth is a rather smaller glass globe. It's about the size of a squash ball. No, a bit bigger than that. But anyway, which is the human immunodeficiency virus, HIV. Could you describe that one for us?
There's a cone that is made of glass that's got maybe 100 little beads attached to it, and that's embedded in another glass sphere, again with proteins on the outside of it. This is the first sculpture I made back in 2004 with a glass blower called Kim George, and it was the first kind of experiment really, and I made it to think about how images of viruses are portrayed and presented through the media, but also as an object to hold really and contemplate the global issues of HIV and what that means to humanity.
Do the glass blowers ever say to you, okay, this is a lovely design, but frankly it can't be made?
Yeah, I mean, this is it. We're kind of pushing the boundaries of glass blowing as well. I'm coming up with designs sometimes that really won't hold together with the forces of gravity. They'd just be too fragile to create.